everybody, welcome to Married with Wrestling. So, you might know us by the name of Figures and Flippy Shit, but we have a new name, same content being covered. We talk about what we liked and what we didn't like, if there were any dislikes.
It's more just
the wrestling world.
It's more just like a recap of North American wrestling for the week. If you don't have 12 hours to dedicate to watching all the wrestling to keeping up, you give us an hour, maybe less. We'll get you caught up best we can.
Yes.
So, I think, honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think we should start with AEW because AEW was a little more eventful this week than WWE was.
Okay.
Because WWE had the draft, and we'll talk about the draft, but out of the 16 picks that were made in the draft, only 6 people changed shows, and most of the draft picks made sense with the stories. Let's talk about AEW. So, AEW had Dynasty over the weekend. A freaking great show.
It was a really good pay-per-view.
AEW doesn't always deliver on the weekly TV, but usually the pay-per-views deliver pretty well. But it suits more Tony Khan's booking style. Tony Khan's booking style is these two wrestle really good matches. I bet they wrestle a really good one together, which is great for your pay-per-view, not so great for weekly TV.
Yeah.
So I think that will continue to be a high spot for them. Is their pay-per-views.
I agree.
They rarely they have had some misses, but not many. But in this one, we had the crowning of our new world champion, Swerve as champ. This might be the first instance of Tony actually pulling the trigger when it was appropriate.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting and cooling Swerve off in a feud with Jericho or something. Swerve went to the top. He's champ. And I'm excited for him to be champ. And Wednesday we'll find out who his challenger is, which is really funny because we already know who Roddy's is. And Roddy is, I feel like, is not nearly as big of a story as champ as Swerve is. But, it's going to happen. So AEW did bring it with their pay-per-view. If you haven't seen Ospreay and Danielson, there have been a lot of people that have coined it the best match to ever take place in the United States. I think there might be some recency bias going on there.
Recency bias.
Like, it just happened, so it feels like it's the best.
Gotcha.
I don't have anything that I would throw in to contend with it. My knowledge of wrestling and, all of the Ring of Honor bangers that happened back in the day. I don't know about all that stuff, so I'm not going to throw a match in the ring. But I'm just saying, Ospreay and Danielson's great.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's best I've ever seen great. I don't even know what that would be right now. But it's still pretty freaking fantastic. But those two guys can go, and you could tell from the off that those two wanted to work together really, really badly. I see a lot of people also, they get worried when Danielson does injury angles now.
Yeah.
Because he always sells it like he's dead.
Yeah.
Which, is great for selling and would be great for anybody that's not Bryan Danielson and had the problems that he's had. Yeah. So I could see why a lot of people see that and they're like, Danielson.
Yeah, he does that. He does that often.
He does. It makes the matches more exciting. I will agree. But I want to be excited because I don't know who's going to win. I don't want to be excited because I don't know if Bryan Danielson's going to walk out of the ring. So I think there's two different ideologies going on there.
Yeah, but just let Danielson live out his
I'll
best wrestling
I'll
life.
live out his best wrestling life. I got no problem with that.
He's loving it. So
we also crowned a new champion, Willow Nightingale. From what I understand, Julia Hart's been wrestling hurt for a little bit. So that match kind of felt pretty quick. That's understandable. That's what they did with Hayter and Storm.
Yeah.
Just hopefully Julia gets healed up, takes the time that she needs to do that. 'Cause she's grown a lot since we started first watching her.
From cheerleader days.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that she gets the rest of the need. She comes back even better. Yeah. And we've definitely set that up. That's actually the first official match we had for Double or Nothing was Willow and Mercedes Moné, which is really interesting that the TBS title match is the first one announced. But
I've been saying this for how long? I called it. I was like, Willow's going to beat her. Mercedes Moné is going to challenge her because they're going to redo that match when Willow beat her.
Yeah.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
I called it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I've called. I usually never call them anything correctly.
Yeah, that one I feel like was pretty... That one was pretty I don't want to diminish your prediction ability, but that one seemed like it was coming.
Because whenever I mentioned it the first time, you're like, oh, do you think so?
Well, maybe. I thought it might be a non-title feud. I thought Mercedes was going to dick over Willow, and it was going to be a non-title match.
No, but I was right.
I'm sorry to say, but I feel like Willow's definitely going to be the transitional champ here.
Yeah.
They're going to give it to Monet, and I feel like they're going to give her a Jade Cargill type run.
Probably, yeah.
Just hopefully she wrestles more than Jade did, but that's up to the booker. We also crowned new tag champs with a little bit of help. So Jack Perry is back in AEW, and we'll talk more about him in a little bit because there's an angle specifically I want to focus some time on. So we will come back. We will come back to Jack Perry. But the Bucks are your AEW tag champs. Pac retained. Pac lost. Okada retained.
I was say what?
Okada and Pac, that match was really good.
Yeah.
Okada is a very good heel. Like he's definitely soaking it up.
Yeah.
Which is great. I really like Okada. Okada is almost in the Cody Rhodes camp for me, where he fascinates me so much. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him.
Yeah.
Because he feels like this mythical figure because I didn't watch a lot of New Japan, so he was always this mythical figure I heard about that was over in Japan, just putting on like career-defining matches at every turn.
Yeah.
So I am very excited to get more of Okada in my life and see what they're going to do with him.
Yeah.
We had another championship retained. Tony Storm retained against Thunder Rosa, and probably
that was a really good
best match those two have had by themselves in a while.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of online discourse that people felt that, when Tony kicked up her gimmick, her quality of matches kind of went down a little bit.
Oh.
And this was kind of a return to form for her.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people thought Tony Storm returned to form with the match against Azumi on Collision.
Yeah.
I could see it. I do feel like that's definitely Thunder Rosa's best match since she's been back.
Yeah.
So hopefully that means that Thunder Rosa's full steam ahead and Tony Storm's going to keep putting on bangers. I don't know where Tony Storm goes from here. I don't know Serena Deeb is where it goes from here because Serena Deeb showed up on Dynamite.
Serena Deeb and... Isn't there somebody else? I can't remember.
The girl with Mariah May.
Oh, yeah.
But, I don't know if she's aligned with Tony Storm or she's aligned with Mariah May, doesn't care about Tony Storm.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have another Damage Control forming or if we have a Tony Storm will be Bayley in a... I can't remember the girl's name from Stardom. I cannot remember her name. But I don't know if we're going to get another Damage Control situation where Tony Storm becomes Bayley and the girl from New Japan and Mariah May kind of buddy up and go their own way like Io did with the Kabuki Warriors. I don't know if that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Was there any other matches on Dynasty? Oh, Jericho won the FTW title, and the crowd did not like that. The crowd did not like Jericho.
I don't understand why Jericho won that match, if I'm being honest.
I don't either.
He didn't need it. He beat, a 23-year-old Hook, and he's, nearing 50? Not 50?
I have seen so many opinions divided about this. The one thing that everybody is in agreement on, though, is that Jericho is overstaying his welcome and needs to take some time off. That is the prevailing consensus that I've seen, and the crowd at the show definitely made that apparent whenever they were chanting, "Please retire, go home."
And I'm not going to knock on Jericho because I am a fan of him, but I think I'm biased because we've done the wrestling cruise twice. But I do feel like it is time for him to
It's a good time
take a step back, maybe go backstage, help the younger talent.
If anything,
take it backstage.
If anything, it's a good time for Fozzy to go on tour.
True.
But I have also seen on the flip side where people have said this may not be a bad thing. The FTW title's done nothing for Hook, and this is a way to get him away from it and onto other things.
But why Jericho?
I don't know.
That's my question.
I don't know. My guess is the FTW title really hasn't elevated anybody. I mean, Brian Cage had it, Ricky Starks had it, and Hook had it, and Jack Perry had it, and I don't know that it really did anything for any of them.
Yeah.
It didn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah.
Ricky Starks seemed to hit his gear whenever he dropped it.
True.
That was when he seemed to hit his gear, because that's when he made fun of Danhausen, Hook came out and got it from him. That's when all that went down. And then Ricky Starks went into that feud with MJF, and a lot of people thought that we shouldn't have stopped pushing Ricky Starks, and I agree. I agree. Because I think Ricky Starks is going to go to WWE. I really do. I think Cody is working Ricky Starks pretty good, because Cody was what got Ricky Starks into AEW in the first place, from what I understand. So I definitely feel like Cody's working on Ricky. He's had him backstage at the Rumble. He was at WrestleMania. Which, friends supporting friends. Bayley's not going to go to AEW just because she was at Big Business. Yeah. But Bayley's also used on TV a lot. Ricky Starks is not. There was the 6-man match was really fun. Copeland, Kingston, and Mark Briscoe against the House of Black. That was really fun. And Copeland, I believe it was Copeland, took the pin. He got misted. So we'll see what happens with Copeland. We'll see if the mist affects him. I don't think he was on Dynamite this week that I can remember. Yeah. He seems to be a collision guy.
Was it Copeland that was pinned?
Yes, it was, because I remember everybody being surprised that it was Copeland, and they liked that Copeland took the pin there rather than Kingston or Briscoe.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, because Copeland could afford it because he's Adam Copeland.
True.
But yeah, overall, real fun show. Definitely check it out. AEW is really good at making you feel like you got your money's worth in a pay-per-view.
Yes.
They really do.
Sure.
I mean, if they're long, they are long. They're about 4 hours. Yeah. I really wish they would do Saturday night pay-per-views.
Agreed.
I really wish. WWE going to Saturday night pay-per-views has been such a blessing. Yes. It's been such a blessing. So whoever's call that was, Nick Khan, Hunter, I don't care. Thank you for the Saturday shows. It's nice to have a day of rest. Mm-hmm. Except in the case of WrestleMania, but I'll excuse WrestleMania because at least it's not 6 hours in one night like it used to be. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, speaking of WWE, let's talk about the draft. WWE kicked off their draft last night on SmackDown. So they started it by saying that the champions that were on the brands that they were on were protected. They weren't going anywhere, which is nice because when Vince was in charge, we like to do let's draft the Raw Women's Champion to SmackDown. Yeah, and then that leads to belt trading segments between Becky Lynch and Charlotte. That leads to Charlotte throwing the title on the floor. That leads to two best friends imploding in the middle of the ring. Let's not do that anymore. Yeah. So, Cody stays on SmackDown. He couldn't be at the SmackDown I was at last week. That's fine. That's fine. I've been to 6 shows with Cody Rhodes. I've yet to see the man wrestle. It's fine. That's not a knock on Cody. It's just bad timing. I guess Cody doesn't like to wrestle in Pittsburgh. He likes to do...
Or Charleston, because in AEW they're in Charleston.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so Cody's on SmackDown. A-Town Down Under stays on SmackDown. Bayley stays on SmackDown. And Logan Paul stays on SmackDown. On the other side of your champs...
R-Truth and Miz.
R-Truth and Miz are going to stay on Raw.
Becky Lynch
will stay on Raw. Priest will stay on Raw. And Sami Zayn will stay on Raw. Oh, man. Sorry, Sami Zayn. He had one of the biggest moments of his career, and it just out of my head. Anyway, so with that table being set, SmackDown had the first overall pick. Bianca went first overall, which I predicted about 5 minutes before it happened.
You did, yeah.
I saw the pool, and I saw who was available once the champions were taken out. And then Roman recused himself from the draft. No, not recused. He's not on the Supreme Court. Excused himself from the draft. He's going to be a free agent, which works for Roman. That's fine. He shows up when he wants to anyway. No point in taking up draft pick with him. That makes sense. Good call with Roman. And it kind of hurt the bloodline later, which we'll get into. So our first round, Bianca was first. Raw took Jey Uso first, which makes sense. He's got his number one contendership match he's got his championship match with Damian Priest at Backlash. So that makes sense. He's going for a Raw title. He's going to stay on Raw. That makes sense. It's boring, but it makes sense. SmackDown then drafted Carmelo, and Carmelo made his presence felt by coming out and calling out Cody Rhodes right away. Yeah. That's how you do an NXT call-up, especially one like Mello.
And, Triple H was on the stage with them, and yes.
So, the people... I do kind of feel bad for the people that went to SmackDown, because do you realize they got 3 matches last night? Yeah. They got Legado and LWO for the 800th time, and there's a lot of people online that are talking about that story needs to be done.
But
But we added to it. We added Carlito was Dragon Lee's attacker, which everybody had called pretty much. Yeah. But Carlito being outed was so funny because once he found out he was out, he stood there for a minute and debated, and he pushed Dragon Lee into Rey Mysterio. He hit a backstabber on Dragon Lee, and then he fucking took off. Like, he just ran away, and it was funny. And poor Rey, once again, has somebody turn on him. And, of course, this was revealed by Santos. One of the funniest comments that I saw after that happened was somebody actually said, if I was Carlito, I'd still deny it and just say it's AI footage. Like, which is a really funny thought of Carlito being like, no, that's AI, no. That would be a really funny image. But they had that match. They had Tiffany versus Naomi, which ended in no contest anyway because Nia Jax showed up. You'll know why here in a minute. And then they had the main event of Cody and Mello. And I told you at the start of that, Cody would make Mello look like $1 million, and he absolutely did. He made Mello look like a killer.
That's not what you said. You were worried that they would do a squash match on him.
I wasn't worried about squashing Mello.
You mentioned it a couple times.
No, because time kept getting short.
I know,
but that didn't end up happening. I forgot for a second that WWE is run by adults with brains and not old men that are horny. So Mello got some time to shine, and it worked out well. And then we all thought Cody fucked up his shoulder, and it turns out Cody's just really committed to selling like Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. So Mello was SmackDown. Mello was SmackDown's second pick in the first round, and then after that, Raw picked Seth Rollins. A lot of people were like, it's really funny they picked Jey Uso over Seth Rollins. Well, at least they picked Rollins in the first round. AJ Styles was not so fortunate, even though he has a match with Cody literally next weekend. Second round, SmackDown took Randy Orton. That makes sense. Randy Orton's still got some unfinished business with the Bloodline. Was the Bloodline picked? We'll see. Raw took Braun Breaker. This was the first guy to change shows, and I think it's kind of funny that literally Braun Breaker signed to SmackDown like 5 weeks ago. Nick Aldis already lost him, which is really funny. And Triple H was actually talking about that all night. He's like, it's about protecting the people you have versus the people you don't, which I kind of felt like was setting him up to say, hey, there's not going to be a lot of change. Mm. I think people took it as him saying there was going to be a lot of change. Now that I'm looking back, I kind of feel it's the opposite. I think Monday's draft could go a little more bananas. Mm-hmm. So after Raw took Braun Breaker, SmackDown took Nia Jax.
I was shocked by that one.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people ask if she's going to do Bloodline stuff while she's over there, and that I don't know. Mm.
That could add more to it.
It could.
To Solo's faction.
It could, and it could give you somebody that you have to find a woman to give her comeuppance, or you don't, because Nia Jax was the one that in a Royal Rumble took an RKO, a 619.
True.
So she doesn't necessarily need another woman to give her comeuppance.
No.
Plus, I think this will be good. This gets Nia Jax away from Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, so we could do new, fresh shit with Nia Jax.
Yeah.
Like Jade Cargill or Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
After Nia Jax got taken by SmackDown, Raw took Liv Morgan. That makes sense. You have a feud build-in with Becky, who's champ over there. That makes sense. Good. Go. SmackDown in the third round kept LA Knight. Awesome. Raw took Ricochet. They don't seem to have Ricochet win a lot, but he does seem to be here lately in his mode of, I'm going to put on the best match on the night.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. If that's the version of Ricochet I'm getting, cool.
Yeah.
After that, the Bloodline was finally taken, but Paul Heyman had to explain to Solo that the Bloodline hadn't been taken yet when Solo got there. And I think they've done really well with Tama Tonga.
Yeah.
Building him up, because Heyman, by the looks of it, Heyman is fucking terrified of Tama Tonga.
Yes.
He does not want to mess with the, what is Solo call him? MFT.
MFT.
Which could be, some people say it's my favorite Tongan. My favorite one that I've seen is My Fucking Thumb. That's my favorite one. I think that's what it should be.
I've seen My Family Tree.
Yeah, My Family Tree out there. I've seen Motherfucking Tama. Seen Motherfucking Tongan. So it could be any number of things. But anyway, that resulted in a brawl between Tama Tonga and Kevin Owens, which is really funny because they started this brawl, and then out in the ring, we had an interview segment with Bianca. Kabuki Warriors came out. Jade Cargill came out to talk trash to the Kabuki Warriors with Bianca, and then the brawl that we had witnessed happen between Tama Tonga and Kevin Owens started to come out into the entranceway. They had never stopped fighting, apparently, during this whole time.
Yeah.
which was really funny. It kind of sucks because the women's segment just kind of ended and they all dispersed, but it was really funny to watch them just battle their way between them. Personally, I think it would have been even funnier if it would have been like almost like a Looney Tunes cartoon, and they would have stopped to watch those two brawl by and then just kept arguing with each other. I think that would have been really funny. But I don't know if that's the vibe that we're going for anymore, but I just think that would have been a funny visual for them to stop to watch them. Well, you did, and just get back into it. That would crack me up. So after the bloodline was taken, and we're going to get a tag match at Dynasty between Solo and Tama Tonga against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Solid. Can't wait. The fourth round, AJ Styles finally went with the first... Oh, no, I forgot. After the bloodline, Sheamus was taken by Raw.
Gosh, you forgot
so he
Sheamus.
stayed where he was. I know. Poor Sheamus.
I know, people are being rude to him.
Yeah, but then Drew McIntyre did it on Raw, and it was really funny.
Course.
Especially when he said burger after burger. I lost it. I absolutely lost it. So SmackDown started the fourth round by taking AJ Styles. It's nice that you decided to get your number one contender in the fourth round SmackDown. You know, AJ Styles is fighting fucking Cody Rhodes, but no, let's get Nia. Let's get Nia Jax and the Bloodline over here first. If you try to make sense of the draft, it will drive you insane. Just kind of ride with it.
I know, I just roll with it. I don't think that much of it.
So after AJ Styles was taken, Raw took Alpha Academy with Gable, which on Raw, Gable seems to definitely be taking the direction of, I thought he was going to go away from the Alpha Academy, but it definitely seems like he's taking the route of they're going to become serious, or he's just going to torture them, essentially.
I know, he was so mean to them on...
Yeah, and he called Otis the biggest disappointment. He made fun of Tozawa's little dance. And what's funny about that
I can't remember what he said to Maxine.
I don't remember either.
It was brutal, whatever
it was. Whatever it was, it wasn't very nice. I still don't think it was as mean as Candace.
No.
But Tozawa actually posted on social media after that. He said, I am sorry, I am worthless. And it was like, poor Tozawa.
Oh my gosh.
So after Alpha Academy, Andrade was taken by SmackDown. And then what's really funny is the last pick for Raw, and the last pick of the night, people were talking about in the live threads, they're like, there's not enough NXT call-ups. This is really boring. These NXT call-ups were predictable. And it's like WWE read those and was like, okay, fine, because then Raw's last pick was Kiana James from NXT.
Which, good for her.
Yeah, good.
Because you yourself just said recently, I think she's ready for call-up.
Yeah, and we're going to see what she does. She's going to be on Raw.
She's very good. If, like, people that don't watch NXT might not know her, but... She's very good. She's like the businesswoman. She's very sassy.
Yeah. And what they did really good at when Carmelo was drafted and when Kiana was drafted. They didn't do it with Braun because Braun's already gotten his little showcase.
Yeah.
And then he got to murder, who did he murder this week? Cedric. He murdered Cedric this week. And I love that he got straight to the point. As soon as he came out, the straps came down and it was like, Cedric's dead. Okay, here we go. But anyway, Kiana got a vignette as well to kind of explain who she was, what her character was. That's good. That's a good way to get everybody caught up.
They interviewed her, and Shawn Michaels came out and like hugged her and gave her a speech of encouragement in her ear.
She got a Raw hat, like it was the NFL draft.
Yeah, because I don't think she knew. Honestly.
I would imagine they had.
Well,
an idea.
because whenever they were like, "Were you expecting this?" and she was like, "No." So I don't know if she knew.
I don't know.
Because she didn't have a Raw hat that somebody came and gave it to her. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. But I think she'll do really well on the main roster. She's definitely got some good building blocks there. She's a
good wrestler.
Yeah, and she's got a character that she clearly understands.
It's different than the other
characters. It's like
she's a boss bitch.
Yeah, essentially. I know. My stream was a little behind of the live thread comments, and I knew she was getting drafted right before she was because and the first comment that I saw in all capital letters was, "Hey, it's the business bitch." And I was like, okay, Kiana James got drafted.
Yes.
But good for her. So the first round's in the books for the draft. We'll see how Monday plays out. This one was it was the make sense draft. But I think you're going to have that because wrestling doesn't really have time to take a break from stories. Like, you can't have an episode air one week and there's no story involved anywhere.
We're also used to the Vince McMahon way of doing it, where sometimes things are like, what? Because they're so
he does it for the sake of that what reaction
Yeah.
instead of making sense. So yeah, I think there was a lot of people that were disappointed with the draft, but I think this is also a sign that moving forward, we're going to make decisions that make sense, not just because it would be shocking in the moment to do it. Like with the Cody Rhodes stuff, You know, a lot of people were like, oh, he lost at Mania 39 just for the shock fight. No, they clearly had a direction they were going. Because we got there, and the match felt bigger, and The Rock got involved. I don't think that will forever be a mystery if the stuff with The Rock was planned or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm in the camp of I don't fucking care. It was fun.
Yeah. I'm in the camp of it wasn't planned.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, that takes care of the draft, and they'll finish up the draft on Monday. All right, so let's go over, and since NXT has lost a couple people, let's go talk about NXT, because NXT had a TV special this week, Spring Breakin'.
Part 1.
Part 1.
Or Day 1.
They'll be back for Spring Breakin' Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, next week.
What? Electric Boogaloo?
That's a movie. It's called, there's a movie called Breakin', and then there's a sequel called Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh.
NXT crowned a new champ, so Ilya's off the mountain. Trick Williams is your new NXT champ. They promoted him fucking quick. Which is good. He's over. You got to take that shot at that point. Mm-hmm. I do think Trick has a longer way to go in the ring. I think he's got the talking down pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think his matches just need refined. A year with him as champ.
Bad wrestler.
No, not by any stretch. But a good 6-7 months, maybe a year with that title will help him immensely. Because he could just put on bangers with anybody. There's so many people in NXT he could tear it up with, and it'll be fun. Like, I would imagine Tony D will be back at some point. He's got... there's just a slew of people he could fight in NXT. And I'm excited because Braun's gone, Melo's gone, and if Ilya goes, like has been rumored, and Ilya gets drafted on Monday, the NXT title scene just opened up because it's been those 4 dudes for a year.
Yeah.
If you count Braun, it's been those 4 dudes for 2 years. Because Braun was champ for a year. Over a year, I think. So I'm excited to see that kind of shake out a little more, to see who steps up and starts taking those main event spots. I think we're going to see Dijak in those spots. I think we're going to see Josh Briggs might get up to that spot, because Josh Briggs, I think, turned a lot of heads in that triple threat with Obafemi and Dijak.
Yeah,
that match
he was impressive.
Yeah. The only thing going against Josh Briggs is not a very good actor, but I couldn't do what he does, so it's not a knock. No. It's a weakness in his game. Mm-hmm. But that's why he's in NXT. That's what he's there for. I would love to see Duke Hudson kind of make a main event run to do. I want to see what. I don't know how much more we can get out of Chase U.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it starts to end and then they get revitalized. So I feel like the end of Chase U they're going to build to be like a big story.
Probably, yeah.
Because they've been in NXT since the coloring book days. Where the logo was just like color everywhere.
Yeah, the 2.0 days.
2.0, that's what I was looking for, yes. We also, Spring Breakin', Roxanne retained against Lyra and Tatum Paxley. I feel like she's going to be...
Tatum looked impressive.
Yeah.
Tatum was impressive in that match.
I would agree with that. Who do you think... See, I know the way it's looking, it looks like Lyra might be called up, but I feel like Roxanne's more ready.
Yeah, I don't know.
Lyra's promos are very wooden.
Mm-hmm, they are.
They're very... They don't do much.
Yeah.
Like, they don't bring much emotion out, I guess. But, that's why all those people are in NXT. So, NXT is going to be moving forward with their new chapter. Trick's going to have plenty of challengers. Obafemi's going to have some good challengers. He's already had some good ones. Yeah. He's getting Ivar next week at Spring Breakin' 2. So that'll be interesting.
And Ivar doesn't impress me on the main roster, but I feel like whenever the main roster guys come down to NXT, they show up.
They do, and they get over as a result of it.
Yes.
Look at Baron Corbin. When have you ever heard a crowd chant for Baron Corbin?
I know.
It's great, which is good for Corbin, because, a lot of people... Corbin got under a lot of people's skin when he was, front and center of everything under the Vince regime. Mm-hmm. But I think what people fail to realize is Baron Corbin is good at what he does. He has a really sick moveset. He's got one of my favorite movesets.
Agreed.
He's really good at being that dude that just gets under your skin and he's just kind of a prick.
Yes.
Baron Corbin is very good at what he does, and NXT helping him get over, I think, is going to pay him dividends in the future.
Agreed.
For sure. And I think when he finally returns to the main roster, he'll get a good reception because he'll have been gone for so long.
Just got that.
Oh, Lord. Don't be rude. So yeah, NXT's direction moving forward, I'm excited for. Sean's been cooking down there for a while. I expect him to do some more cooking this year. So yeah, I'm excited. Even with Braun and Mello leaving, potentially Ilya, I think we've got a crop of people that's ready to step up. Okay, so let's end with AEW, because AEW had two developments recently. The first one is the Best Friends have completely imploded.
Which is so sad.
It is. It's. I also agree with a lot of people that said it's a shame they broke up Best Friends before Best Friends got to be tag champs.
Yeah, before they won a match. They never even win.
I mean, I think Best Friends would have made really good, I hate to say this, but
mid-card?
Transitional champs.
Oh, yeah.
They'd have been really good to get the titles off of a heel to get them on a bigger heel. That would have been a good use for them. So it is kind of a shame. Maybe the Best Friends will reform, but I also feel like Trent and Chuck and Orange Cassidy are all, 40 and over. They're more toward the end. So I don't know if there's another shot for them to do it, but who knows? Tony Khan wanted to put the tag titles on the Hardys when the Hardys were in the condition they're in. So who knows? Yeah. Maybe it's in the cards for the Best Friends, maybe. Maybe that's the redemption arc down the road. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think Tony Khan even thinks that far ahead sometimes.
No.
So that's our big development, because Chuck sided with Orange over Trent. Trent definitely seems to be going it alone. I would really be down for a full-on feud of Rocky Romero turning heel with Trent and running Trent and Rocky against Orange and Chuck Taylor.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
that would be really. I think that would be fun.
And Chucky T got to say shit on TV.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Finally got to say it.
Yes, so we need balloons for Chucky T. He finally got to realize his dream, and he said it in a pretty fun angle. Like, it's sad because a lot of it, like Chuck and Trent are fighting on Rampage in a parking lot brawl. This will be a Rampage feud. I don't want it to be a Rampage feud. I want it to be like at least a Collision feud.
Yeah.
But it seems like Orange definitely wrestles more Wednesdays than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want this to play out on, and it's nothing against Rampage. We haven't watched Rampage in a month. And I feel like we haven't really missed much. No. Which is really sad, but it's just the way it is. Now, the other development that AEW had this week, I teased earlier that we would talk about Jack Perry. Here's where Jack Perry comes back into play. So, Dynamite. What was interesting about this is Dynamite kind of pulled an old Raw trick where they kind of told a story throughout the whole night.
Yeah.
And it was the Bucks and Okada and Jack Perry. And they arrived at the arena. It started when they arrived. They walked in. They went to Tony Khan's office. They went away for a little bit. We had some Dynamite. We come back later. They talk about how Tony Khan has agreed to meet Jack Perry in the ring at the end of the show. So we've got a little more development there. They went away, and then we got to our final segment. So AEW, do more of that.
Yeah.
The show works really well, and WWE's proven this. The show works really well when you have like a plot going throughout the whole show. It gives you a reason to be like, okay, where's this going to go? Okay, what are we going to do here? And WWE's done it really well too by playing with the camera angles and letting it bleed into things.
Well, WWE's just killing it right
now. WWE's running circles around everybody.
I don't think it's fair to compare.
It's not. It's not. So we get to the end of the night. It's time for our little meetup. And it's the first time that Tony Khan has appeared on camera as part of a story.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for him because he always said that was something he wasn't going to do. But clearly, things have changed. I don't know if it's to pop ratings, if it's to get things more interesting. I don't know what the purpose is. But in this instance, it worked. And I think it worked really well. So, Perry, the Bucks, and Okada came out. No, it was just Perry. Came out to the ring. He came out with no music, no production. I like that touch.
Because he's not part of
I like that touch.
AEW.
We don't have his shit because he doesn't work for us.
Yes.
So Tony Khan gets the ring, and Tony Khan's just beaming. So I'm thinking, number one, Tony Khan's really proud of this segment. Number two, Tony Khan's really excited to do something he's always wanted to do. So, Tony Khan gets out there. Jack Perry wants to bury the hatchet. tells Tony Khan, I don't know, did he apologize to Tony Khan? I can't remember if he actually apologized to him. But he held out his hand. Tony Khan shook it, had the biggest smile on his face, was showing Jack Perry off to everybody, like, look, we made amends, we fixed it. And then Jack Perry punched him in the gut. And Tony Khan goes down, and the whole crowd's just like, oh, wait a minute, that's TK. So Tony Khan goes down. The Bucks come out with Okada, and they're like, what are you doing, Jack? You know, you just got here. We just got this fixed up for you. What are you doing? And Okada's just kind of watching all this happen. He's not really arguing about it. He's not really doing anything to stop it. Okada's just kind of observing, standing there, the mysterious motherfucker that he is, and I can't wait to learn more about. He's just standing over there observing. And the Bucks go to help Tony up, and when they pick him up, they're in the EVP trigger position, and everybody starts to swell up. They're like, oh no. And then at that point, Okada stepped in, and Okada's like, wait. So they finally get Tony up, and it's all fine. Well, then they pick up Tony Khan in a tombstone and hit a TK driver on him in the middle of the ring and just leave him there. So the Bucks have also attacked Tony Khan. So now Tony Khan is dead in the middle of the ring, essentially.
He literally wore a neck brace the next day
he wore a neck brace at the NFL draft and built up what had happened. But then he made an error where he said something like, AEW was Pepsi and WWE was Harvey Weinstein. Tony Khan, don't go that way. Coca-Cola was right there, and it made sense. It's been around longer, and yeah, Coca-Cola made much more sense than Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein would have made sense if Vince was still in charge, but we are past that now. Yeah. Tony Khan, you're about a year late to the game on that one. But anyway, so Tony Khan's left laying in the ring. The roster comes out to tend to him. Dante Martin looks like the most hurt guy in the world.
I think he was the first person that ran out there. He was the first person to get out there.
Tony Khan's dad came out right at the end of the show. He was there with his brilliant mustache.
He looks like Mario.
He does. He does. And that's how the show ended. The show ended with essentially Tony Khan being murdered in the middle of the ring. So
it was really great.
It was.
I remember the best. That's the best episode of anything AEW that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, we've got some stories cooking.
Yeah,
we've got some plates going, and we need to be with Double or Nothing right around the corner. We've got to start spinning some plates. That's their WrestleMania. We got to go.
Yeah.
That's why I almost feel like the way AEW does stuff, I can't tell if having a pay-per-view every month is helping them or hurting them, because sometimes it feels like they have to rush to fill the card. And so a lot of times things get on there that maybe shouldn't have been on there, but at the same time, there was a lot of wheels spinning when it was 2 or 3 months between pay-per-views.
Yeah.
So I don't know yet if this is good or bad for them.
I feel like they should just do the pay-per-views every 2 or 3 months and just get stories. Like it can't be that hard to have a story go for 2 or 3 months.
You've got the roster. Here's the frustrating thing about AEW. AEW, if done right, absolutely has the roster to compete with WWE. Absolutely they do. Yeah. That AEW roster is great.
It is.
There's a lot of great wrestlers there.
There are.
But WWE's got all the storytellers. And I can't ignore the fact of what I saw somebody say a couple months ago where they said, do you notice that stories seem to go by the wayside in AEW once Cody Rhodes left? And I can't unsee that now. Now that that's been brought up, and I know how into storytelling Cody Rhodes is.
Yeah,
he's a Southern style Amdram wrestler, and AEW doesn't really have those now. He was one of a kind in that regard for them.
Yeah,
and Brandy brought it up in an interview where she said that she felt that they were watching AEW becoming something that wasn't part of the original vision. And that's why Cody and Brandy left, and if it means that they got rid of stories and went more for like match ratings and, just, hey, this is going to be a really good match. Don't know why they're fighting, but it'll be really cool to watch. I could see why Cody would take issue with that as much as he's invested in stories.
Yeah.
I mean, finish the story was his tagline for 2 years. But anyway.
I'm more of a heel person, so.
Yeah. Half of them were on the bench. Poor Dom and Maria. Priest becomes champ and the whole thing fell apart. But yeah, the Tony Khan angle definitely makes me intrigued to see where we go from here. Especially since Tony Khan's not a regular character on TV. I'm interested to see who steps up in Tony Khan's place, because Tony's not Vince. Tony's not going to wrestle Jack Perry at Double or Nothing. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
However, is there somebody, an AEW original, that's on Tony's side that would fight Jack Perry at Double or Nothing? Kenny Omega comes back next week. I don't think Kenny's coming back to wrestle, but if he is, does Kenny Omega take it up and fight Jack Perry? Because there's a story there.
He was kicked out of the
He was kicked out to include Okada and Jack Perry. Mm-hmm. He's got a beef.
Him and Hangman.
Yeah. But if Kenny can't wrestle, that's fine. I just want Kenny to get healthy. I want Kenny to get healthy where he can go on a final Bryan Danielson type run where he's just like, I want to wrestle that dude, that dude, that dude, and that dude. Mm-hmm. Kenny Omega deserves that.
Yes.
Absolutely deserves that. So, yeah, AEW, you've got me interested. Please don't fumble it. Let's build on this for next week.
I mean, no disrespect to AEW. I like AEW, but I like that they have this because it was kind of rough for me to get through AEW shows here lately. Mm-hmm. It just, they weren't holding my attention. Like, the wrestling, yes, was good, but I need more stories.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would agree with that. And I think a big problem, a lot of people talk about AEW's numbers going down. Warner Brothers Discovery is very happy with them. The negotiations for their new TV deal are going really well from what's been reported. But I think at the end of the day, AEW marketed itself as an alternative at a time where the primary sucked. Mm-hmm. The primary doesn't suck anymore. That marketing. Yeah, the primary doesn't suck anymore.
Well, I mean, they kind of did. They kind of did change it. Now they always talk about how AEW were the best wrestle. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, and if you would book them, you might be able to.
I think if you had the stories to go with it, you could absolutely make that argument.
Yeah, because they have really good wrestlers.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, it's WWE pursued Jay White. They pursued Will Ospreay. They pursued Okada.
Got so many people that WWE wanted.
Yeah, they have, and they need to do more with them. They need to give them a reason to want to be there and be able to tell as good of the stories as they are on the other side. And you can do that. I think Tony Khan just needs somebody that's more inclined in that area. Like, he can have final say on ideas, but let somebody else write the stories.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you've got the talent to compete. You just don't have the stories to compete.
Yeah.
But you're getting better. This is a really good start. This Jack Perry story is a really good start.
Yeah.
I've even seen people walk back the fact that they thought that the showing the all-in footage was dumb, because they said if that was what it was designed to do, it clearly has worked for Jack Perry and it's working well. Because Jack Perry had the crowd behind him. There were Cry Me a River chants. People were happy to see him.
I feel like at one point in time I heard a CM Punk chant start and then it got drowned out.
Those get shut down pretty quick now at AEW.
Well, it's just rude at this point to do it. Like,
it makes sense to do it at, like, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, Drew and Punk are on the draft for Monday. So I imagine they're going to stay on the same brand, but I wonder how that's going to work.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll see. That's going to do it for our show today. Like Susan said, we have, at the top of the show, we have rebranded to Married with Wrestling. We are in the process of switching our socials over. For those of you that are on our Facebook page and subscribers on YouTube, we'll make sure to get you guys a link to the new page, because it's looking like we're going to set up a new page, which is kind of annoying. On Facebook, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. But we'll get all that information out there in the socials. We'll get the new handles out as well. Wrestling's really good right now. Go find some and watch it and get into it, because when wrestling clicks, there's no better form of entertainment. I know my editor AJ would disagree because he's about movies, but when you put good stories together, you get, what is it that they keep referring to WWE as during the Bloodline story? Cinema.
Yes.
We'll see you guys next week.